Hello everyone, I'm Arunima from Netanata, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make these slippers. This is a part of a series of slipper patterns that I'm making. I've been experimenting with simple construction and I've been making different slippers. So this is the third in the series. I have two more patterns out there already. So this one is made from a square. This one is made from a mitered square. So all you have to do is make a square, and I will show you how to do that in this video. So for this, you will need, there's very few things you need here. You just need your yarn. You need a 3.5 millimeters Tunisian crochet hook. You need a 3.25 millimeter traditional crochet hook that is for this border here, and a scissors, a tapestry needle, and I also use this pom-pom maker. This one is from Clover. I've used this is the smallest size I could get. It's a 1 3/8 inches size. This is the one I used to make this pom-pom here. So that's pretty much all you need to make these slippers, and let's get started. Let's quickly talk about the construction of these slippers. I started with a mitered square, made a mitered square. It's very simple. So just make a mitered square, and then there's some shaping involved where we make this toe section, and then there's a seam here, and then there's a border that I added just to make sure that this doesn't stretch over here and gives this this color here that I really like. And then I added this pom-pom. So that's pretty much all there is to making these slippers. And I'm going to show you how to do them. To make the slipper, I'm using the Stroll Tweed Fingering Weight yarn by Knit Picks. And this is great for making these slippers. It's nice and warm, and there's a little bit of nylon in here, so it keeps it from stretching too much. And so this is what I've been using for all of my slippers, and it's working out great. But any yarn of similar weight will work for this pattern. I'm going to now show you how to start making this. Just so you know, I have a separate video which explains how to make mitered squares, which is a simpler construction mitered square. For this one, given this the center is a rib stitch, so it looks nice for the slippers, but you don't have to make it this way. You could also check out that other video that I have, and I'm going to add a link to it in the description if you'd like to take a look. But uh, just wanted to point out that you could make a mitered square in different ways uh, to make this, and it would work out just fine. So I'm going to start with this. So this one is down heather, and this color is, I believe it's garnet heather. So I'm going to start with this one. And the other thing here is that you could make you could use any combination of colors. You could use more than two colors, or you could make it in one solid color, or you could use variegated yarn. Whatever colors you like would work fine in this pattern. So it would look good, I think, either way. So for this, I'm going to start with the down heather. I'm going to start the mitered square with the chain 4. This is the foundation row. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Um, so I have separate tutorial for how to make this foundation row. There's multiple options how you can make this, but for this video, I'm going to insert my hook in the back bump here. So that's where I'm going to make my foundation row stitches. Insert the hook and pull up a loop, and do that for every chain. And make the reverse pass, chain 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the beginning of the row. So now that's done, that's the foundation row. I'm going to start making the first row now. So the first row, we'll count this one as the first stitch. So we'll not do anything, we'll leave it as it is. And then we'll make a full stitch. So that's a stitch between this stitch here and the next one. So here's a full stitch. So this is our increase. And then a rib stitch. So a rib stitch is a combination of a simple stitch. So I'm going to make a simple stitch and a twisted simple stitch twisted upwards. So insert your hook here from the other side, pick up that loop, pick up that vertical bar, and then your hook needs to come out at the top, and then yarn over, pull through. So that's the rib stitch right there, and then another full stitch, and then a last stitch. So that's row one, the end of the forward pass. Now making the reverse pass, which is chain one and then yarn over, pull through two, all the way to the beginning of this row. So that was 6 stitches because we increased by 2. There were 2 full stitches. Those are the increases. So now we are done with row 1. I'm going to make row 2, which is a simple stitch. So we're making the simple stitch on the full stitch that we made in the previous row, and then a full stitch, which is an increase. So we'll increase by 2 stitches on every row. This is a full stitch, and then we make a rib stitch. So that's the simple stitch and twisted simple stitch twisted upwards. So make sure that your hook is coming out at the top, and then a full stitch increase, a simple stitch, and then a last stitch. So that's how that's looking. So we'll have 8 stitches on this row, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. So we again we added 2 more, and then the return pass is the same. So the return pass will be the same for every row. So chain 1 and then yarn over, pull through 2. And that completes row 2. With row 3, I'm going to do the same thing as before, where I'm going to make simple stitches in all the simple stitches and full stitches from the previous row, and then I'm going to do 2 full stitch increases, one on each side of the center rib stitch. So it's a simple stitch, a simple stitch, and then a full stitch, a simple stitch, and a twisted simple stitch to make that rib stitch at the center, sort of the spine of that square, and then a full stitch and 2 simple stitches. And then the return pass. Now row 4 is exactly the same as the previous one, or simple stitches in all the simple and full stitches, and then 2 full stitch increases, one on each side of that rib stitch. So simple, simple stitch, simple stitch, a full stitch increase, a simple stitch, a twisted simple stitch, full stitch, simple stitch, simple stitch, simple stitch, and a last stitch by picking up the two vertical bars at the end here. And then chain one and yarn over, pull through two all the way to the beginning of this row. There it is. This is how it's looking, and it's just going to, the way is very simple. All you have to do is, that's all the pattern is, where you make simple stitches in all the stitches from the previous row, the before the rib stitch and after the rib stitch, and then one full stitch on each side of the rib stitch to do the two increases for each row. This is the end of row 4, and I'm going to show you one more row here. So I completed this row, but I need to not do that. I'm going to remove this one chain because I'm going to show you how to change color here. This is where I'm going to change color. So when you have two loops on your hook, that's where you stop. You don't chain and pull through to complete the row. This is where you bring your other color and pull through. So that's how you change color at the beginning of the forward pass. And now I'm going to make row 5 with this color. That's simple stitches. And we've reached the center there, so that's our rib stitch. So I'm going to make one full stitch before that. And then a simple stitch and a twisted simple stitch. And then another full stitch. And then simple stitches. And then the return pass. Chain one, then yarn over, pull through two, all the way to the beginning of this row. Here, so this is the end of row 5. And so if you look at this, you just have to keep going. You have to make simple stitches on both sides of the center spine of rib stitches, and then one full stitch each on both sides of the strip stitch for the two increases per row. And there's one thing to remember here, which makes it easy for me to count, which is because the rib stitch is the center, there'll be exactly the same number of simple stitches on both sides of that rib stitch. So if you are on a row, just make sure that this side and this side, the number of simple stitches that you're making is exactly the same. This pattern, for some reason, it was easy for me to miss simple stitches. Maybe it was because of the dark color that I was using, but I was missing stitches, and I had to frog and redo some rows because I was making that mistake quite often. So just be sure that you're counting your stitches with this. It's that's important. Otherwise, your square might turn out wonky. And that's pretty much it in terms of how this mitered square is made. And let me just show you these slippers here. So I started with the lighter color, and then when I went to the darker one, made 2 rows of the dark one, and then 5 rows of the lighter one, and then 2 rows of the dark. And I did that 4 times, and then I made the rest of the square with this dark color. So I'm going to make the rest of this. I'm going to complete the square and I'm going to see you on the other side of this video. Here I am after completing row 65 of simple stitches in this mitered square, and I'm filming this video a long time after I filmed the previous section. That's because I ran out of yarn midway and I had to order more to be able to complete this. So I ordered some, got it, and then I could complete this. And so it's been a while since I recorded the previous part of this. Uh, Now, after you're done with row 65, you should have, I think it's 134 stitches total. So that is these corner stitches here, these, and these stitches right here. So all of these combined will be 134 stitches. And now I'm going to bind off. So for the bind off, I'm just going to do it the regular bind off with simple stitches, and then I'm going to slip stitch bind off with Tunisian simple stitches. So make a simple stitch and then pull through. That takes care of binding off that stitch. And I'm just going to go through this, and I'm going to follow the pattern. So I'm going to make simple stitches where I'm supposed to make simple stitches, full stitches where I'm supposed to make full stitches, and I'm going to make the bind off row by following the full pattern for this row. So I'm going to do this all the way until this corner here, and then I'll meet you over there. Here I am, I've reached the corner. It's a little hard to see with this color, but I'm going to try my best to show you exactly what I'm doing. So I've made PSS stitches, simple stitches, and then this was the full stitch from the previous row. I'm going to make a simple stitch in that, and then we make a full stitch between this one and this one here. That is the increase for this row. So I'm going to do that as well. So I'm going to do a full stitch and then slip, and then this is a simple stitch again here and slip, and then this is a twisted simple stitch and slip and a full stitch and slip, and then simple stitches again all the way till the end. So this is how it is. I'm going to continue doing this all the way till here, and I'm going to complete this, and then I'm going to weave in ends, and I'm going to block this. So I recommend blocking this slipper. For all my other slippers, it doesn't really matter, but for this one, I recommend blocking before you start shaping. So just for this yarn, I just wet block it. So I just put it in water and I stretch it out really nicely, and I put it on a blocking mat. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you how it looks after I'm done with that. So this is how it's looking after blocking. It has these little wrinkles because this somehow found its way to the bottom of my whip pile, and it got a little crumpled, but otherwise it's sitting fairly flat, and that's what I mostly care about for this. So this is what we're going to shape it into. It's just a square, and I'm going to shape it to make these slippers. I'm now going to start shaping this. It is, so if you look at the front here, the toe part, there is a little V here. So that is what we're going to make first. And then we are going to seam the bottom and then the back. So here we are. We're going to just fold this here inside out. We're just leaving about an inch here, and we're going to fold this here and sew these edges here. So I'm going to start doing that right now. I like to weave in my tail in the beginning so I don't have to do it in the end. There. Now just Hold it like this and hold it like this here. You could count the exact number of stitches on both sides, or you could just do it, you just eyeball it, and should not make a big difference. Now I'm going back just to so that I can come back to this point. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So here, this is joined here, and now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So this one is easy because we can just line up these stripes and see where to join. It has to be even on both sides. So I'm just going to stop here, and then now I'm going to seam this bottom edge all the way. And it's important to do this from the reverse side, otherwise it won't be as neat on the front, on the right side. So just make sure that you're doing this on the reverse side. And I think I used, so yeah, I used the darker colored yarn for this slipper, and I think I'm going to switch to that for seaming this portion. And I'm going to fetch that yarn and get right back. So here I've attached this darker yarn, and I did the same thing as earlier where I sewed in the end before I started, so I don't have to do it later. And now I'm going to just go ahead and seam the bottom edge. Well, this is the time where you could, I forgot to do it here, but this is the time where you can pick up that loose yarn in the back and the float, and then you can just bring it in so it's not visible or hanging anymore, so it won't get stuck at your foot. So I'm almost at the end of this edge, so I'm at the heel here, and I'm going to go around this, turn my project, and I'm going to seam the back here. Um, so this is this part. This is about 3 inches. I can count the number of stitches and I'll mention it in the pattern, but here you go about 3 inches here and seam until you've reached this point. Now I'm here, seamed about 3 inches, and I'm just going to go in, well, a couple of times extra here just to reinforce this join here. I'm sorry about the color because it's dark, it's hard to see, but I'm just going in multiple times and I'm going to sew in this end. And that's it for this. Show you how it looks after turning it around. So this is how it is. And this is how the heel looks. So the two parts things that are remaining now is are I'm going to give it this crab stitch border. Uh, this is optional. I like it because it gives it this little contrast color over here, and it sort of solidifies this edge here. And I'm going to add this pom pom. So I'm going to show you how to do that. This is how it looks now. I've seamed the front, the toe part, the bottom, and the back. Now I'm going to go ahead and give it a edging of crab stitches. So this part right here. For this, I'm going to start at this point here, this right in the middle, this sort of the spine of the mitered square. So I'm going to join my yarn here, and I'm going to start my crab stitches. The reason I'm going to start from here is because this is where I'm going to join my pom-pom and it's going to hide the ends really well. You could start from anywhere you'd like. It doesn't have to be here. So wherever you want to start, that's completely fine. This is where I'm going to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this. So because this is going to hang like this is going to be the front for my crab stitch. So I'm going to flip this like this. So I'm going to make my crab stitches on the reverse side of this fabric. So if you see in this here, this is this is how it is, and this is the reverse of the crab stitch. This is the front. So that's because this is we fold it like this, and that's how this becomes the front or the right side for the crab stitches. So here I am, just going to find that center stitch, yarn over, pull through. It doesn't matter much where you're inserting your hook. Crab stitches are very forgiving. Even if the stitches are wide apart or they're not at the right place, it doesn't matter. You'll be able to make that crab stitch border easily. I have a separate tutorial for crab stitches to learn how to make this if you don't already know. I'm going to go around and I'm going to make the crab stitches all the way here and then come back to this point. I've almost reached this part here at the back now, so I'm going to show you how I go about doing my crab stitches here. Go all the way to the that point of join here, and then just continue on the other side of that join. This serves two purposes. This gives it the border, of course, that's what I'm doing right now. Plus, it reinforces this join a little bit because that's where a lot of tension will be there when you're wearing your slippers. So this will sort of ensure that it doesn't rip apart from at the point of the join. Here I am, almost at the end, or rather at the beginning. So I'm going to complete this. and making that last stitch in the same place that I'd made that first one, where I joined the yarn, and that's it. So I'm going to join this here, slip stitch. I'm going to cut the yarn, and for now I'm going to let it be because this is where I'm going to join the pom. You can see that the front of this fabric, this is the reverse of the wrong side for the crab stitch. That's because we're going to pull this way, and this is the front or the right side for the crab stitch. So that's why we made it inside out. Now the only one thing that's remaining is to attach a pom. So here, this one, I'm going to do that right now. So here I have this pom-pom that I made. I made it with a clover pom-pom maker. I forget what size is this, but I think this is the smallest that you get. I'm going to put that in the description below. Um, you get this in 4 sizes, and this was the smallest one that I've used to make this. So I'm going to figure it out and put it in the description about what size this is. So I'm just going to, here I have this, I'm going to join it over here, right at this point where my tails are. So I did my needle with this strand. Here I'm going to insert my needle right here where these strands of yarn are, and we'll take care of these later. Just going to attach this. Make sure that you pull it really tight. Here. Well, that's how it's looking. I think it's fairly secure. I'm going to just make a knot, and I'm going to leave this, and now I'm going to put this, get this on the side. And I like that I have the scrap stitch border because I can weave this end here behind this yarn. Otherwise, the color could show at the front. But now that I have this, it's easy to weave it in. And I'm going to bring the tail towards the pom-pom so that that can blend in with the pom. So here I have this little extra which I'm going to let go there. And I'm just going to make a knot here. These were the ends from the crab stitch. And I'm just going to take this and put it through the palm, bring it to the other side and cut. I'm going to do it with all 3. So they become a part of the pom-pom and I don't have to weave in those ends. And here it is. Now it looks, if there's any extra or long strands in the pom, you can cut them off now. Here it is. Let me put it on a slipper, on a foot and show you. So that's how it goes in, and flip it over here. And that's it. So this was nice and easy. This is how they're looking. This was very simple construction. I love to make slippers that have simple construction where there's not much in terms of like the made from basic shapes. Like this one is a square. So I have one which is made from a rectangle. I have a pair that's made from an L shape. So I will be releasing them throughout the year. So they may or may not be released when at the time of publishing these, but they will be there on my blog eventually. And so that's about it for these slippers. I hope you will enjoy making them as much as I did. And they're really, really simple. So please give them a try. And I have a bunch of other tutorials and patterns on my blog and on my YouTube channel. So feel free to check them out and reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.